But so do you think that mentality and the mentality to never quit and always be one step better, or go to the higher bar, translated into your day to day at work, where we never shut off, right? It's a fight, and it's a challenge to continue working no matter what the damage is to work life balance.
Um, I think there are people who do it smarter and therefore are more successful at it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that taking that for face value, like just being this, extremely over the top driver mentality, will not get you what you want
Mm.
most of the time, right? Um, there's a lot of there's a lot of emotional intelligence that goes into it, and certainly not something that I've been blessed with. But as I've worked throughout the years, it's clearly not about who works the hardest, but also, there has to be a selectivity in terms of the type of work that you're willing to take on, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to be that go-to person that your SM or MD really trusts to get the work done, but not for everything. And there has to be a shrewdness about how that's approached. I think consulting hires for those types of people that just really want to get it done no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think a lot of the landscape is starting to change. And I know a lot of firms will say, okay, they care about mental health and whatever. But the truth of the matter is the firm has no control over that,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, you can't say that, oh, Deloitte has better work-life balance. I haven't joked about it, like, or KPMG does or whatever. You can't say that because you know how each project works. It's what type of project it is. It's who's leading the project, and it's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
expectations either the client themselves have, or your leadership has, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can work with some really great people, or you can work with some really toxic people, and it could be from the same firm, right? So there's no blanket statement that can say, well, and I always see people say this, well, in my experience, this has never happened. Like, so for example, in reaction to people getting treated poorly at the big four, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you'd have to be, I don't know, like, you just have to be stupid to assume that it never happens,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, you have to be cognizant of the fact that if it doesn't happen to you, even if it doesn't happen to you, right, that plausibly somebody could have a bad experience, right? But I see people just saying, well, this has never happened to me. And so what you're saying about being treated poorly or whatever, this is just you. Like, this is something you're
Cannot be
doing to
true.
yourself or what. I'm like, all right, well, that's just kind of, you drank the Kool-Aid all the way, and there's a really shitty thing to say um,
Mm-hmm.
about something that could very well happen to you. You just haven't experienced it yet,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, but in any case, I mean, I think that because we hire for this type of thing, this type of personality, right? Um, everybody's gonna have to kind of come to terms with it themselves on, how long they want to stay in um, an industry that kind of operates this way,
Yeah.
regardless of what the feel good type stuff that the firm puts out about mental health awareness and whatever, right? Or telling their employees to learn how to say no, or even
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
training that goes into it. I have no doubt that the firms themselves, at least whoever's coming up with this, is genuine in the fact that they want to improve work life balance. But when it comes to crunch time, when you need something done, when the client gives you an 11th hour request, there,
Yeah.
all that goes out the window anyway,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Kind of putting a parallel on what I'm seeing out there right now, like with Cyberpunk 2077, right? CD
Mm-hmm.
Projekt Red instituted crunch time, right? Right before their game release. So this game was released on December 10th and was a highly delayed but highly anticipated game. And they were working their folks 7 days a week,
Mm.
like, over 12 hours a day, something like that, right? And I thought to myself, well, this is just kind of a media spin on it, because crunch time is not something that development people are unfamiliar with. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in development, pre go live,
Oh yeah.
it's normal, right? But what does that mean? Like, it's normal for the industry, but extremely unhealthy to its workers and the people that actually that operate this industry.
Yeah.
There's going to be a breaking point um, at some point, and I think a lot of it has to do with the money. That's going to dictate a lot of it, because you pay people enough to kind of keep them happy, to
Yeah.
say that what I'm doing is worth it, right? The amount of work that I'm doing is worth it. But again, with the visibility of other opportunities as well as consulting, people aren't stupid, they're going to be able to do that,
Yep.
that math in their head and say, okay, well, you know, whatever's important to them, whether it be pay or autonomy or less work, whatever that is, there are an infinite number of options at this point,
Yeah.
where you could pivot your skill set from consultancy, right? So, I mean, I think that's one of the big draws of consultancy itself, is that you can take your skill set and, go from, say, a very prestigious firm to anything else that you might want to do with the rest of
Yep.
your life, right?
Yep.
But at the time, you're going to struggle with, am I being paid enough for the amount of work that I'm doing, right?
Hmm.
I think that's something that everybody kind of has to come to terms with. I think it's responsible for a lot of people saying, okay, well, now I'm a manager, now I'm a senior manager. Like, am I going to go, the MD track, or am I going to jump ship and do something else, right? And I think
Yeah.
that it's not like, I don't think people should feel bad about that. I think it's just natural, right?
Yeah. And it comes back to, who are you competing with? Are you competing
Right.
with yourself? Are you competing with your peer? Are you competing with some person out there? Like, who is it that you are trying to satisfy at the end of the day? And we have to be real to that, right? A lot of the folks that just gun it and become that toxic personality that you're explaining, I think tend to be those go-getters that have one track mind, that it's me and I have to be successful. Nothing else matters. And the success may mean more money or the next title up, right? And that's their goal. That's what they
Yeah.
chase.